Hello guys and welcome back to my channel Interview with Bunny, and first of all a huge thank you to each one of you guys for an overwhelming support that you have shown me on my last video where I have told you in detail that how did I crack both my Microsoft as well as Google interview with just 3 months of preparation. And honestly, after I had posted that video, my Instagram as well as my LinkedIn Messenger was flooded with different doubts and the question that you guys are having regarding the interview preparation, the roadmap, the DSA sheet that I have followed, what are the videos from which I had learned the system designing, and there were plenty more questions that you guys have asked across the platform. So what I thought, instead of answering each one of you guys individually, it is better to keep a single video and clear all the doubts that you guys are having so that it will be a helpful video for each one of you guys. And to do so, what I did a few weeks before, I had given you a Google form and requested you to drop all your questions and doubts in a single form. And believe me, the response was insane, because within just 2 weeks I got, I think, and 250 odd questions from you guys. But obviously most of you guys have the similar question and the similar doubt, means what was the roadmap, what are the questions that I had prepared, and all those things. So in this video, what I did, I had curated and filtered out all the duplicate questions, and I have came out with 15 most unique questions that I am going to answer over here. And believe me, I have covered as much question as possible. So today in this video, I will be answering all the questions, I will be sharing all the resources, the study material, as well as I will be sharing my own DSA sheet, what are the videos I used to prefer, and I will give you everything that I used for my interview preparation. So without wasting much time, let's get started with the first question, and that is this one. So let's start with the first question. So here, if you look carefully in this slide, I have kept two questions and both of them are on the same topic, that is the time management and the preparation strategy. So let's go through one by one and let's try to answer them. So here, if you look carefully, the first question tells that how did I manage the time for the DSA along with my job? So believe me, this is actually a very important question for all the candidates who are actually doing a full-time job and along with that are preparing for the interview, because managing the time for the interview as well as the job is the crucial part for any interview preparation. Because as you know, interview preparation is a completely separate entity, means whatever the questions or whatever the things that you face during the interview, in most of the cases you do not do actually on the real life, because obviously in day-to-day activity on the job we do not implement graph, we do not implement the dynamic programming and all those things in detail. But when you are appearing for the job interview, all these concepts are very much important, and it is mandatory and it is expected that you have a thorough knowledge of all these things. So it is very important that whenever you are planning for a job interview or we are planning for a job change, you have to do a proper time management for both the activity, that is the interview preparation, along with that your office work. So in my case, what I used to do, I used to daily allocate 2 hours at the night time for my interview preparation. That is post dinner, I used to study for 2 hours daily for the interview preparation. And believe me, the consistency of practicing 2 hours, I'm telling the minimum 2 hours is very much required if you are planning to target some big company and to crack some big interview process. And the most problematic thing that comes up, that is the revision process, because only just studying a particular pattern of programming is not enough. You have to keep on recollecting them, and with the same idea you have to also solve the problem. So anything if you are understanding for the first time, it is very much needed that you keep on revising it each and every day, so that during the interview it will be easy for you to proceed with any of the approaches that you have learned in the past. So revision and consistency is the crucial part for any job preparation. So I hope it is clear that how I used to manage my time daily for my interview preparation. And along with that, during the weekend, if you get time, you also have to prepare over the weekend. So obviously, since we are doing a 9 to 5 job and we are working 5 days a week, so weekend is the only free time which you have for the preparation. So try to effectively utilize whatever the time you get over the weekend for the interview preparation. I hope this is clear that how you should prepare for your interview process along with your day-to-day job. Clear? Now let's go to our second question. So here if you look carefully, I have already covered the second part of the question, that is the daily routine, the hours over the weekend and weekdays. I hope this is clear. Now comes the next question, that is whether Google was only DSA focused or not. So if I understand this question correctly, the question tells that whether the whole interview process at Google was focused on the DSA or not. So as I have told you in my last video, Google have multiple interview rounds. The first 3 rounds was completely focused on the DSA and algorithm. So if you do not clear the first 3 rounds, you will not be selected for the next round. So you can easily understand that it is totally a DSA centric interview that you will be facing on the first 3 rounds. And once you clear the first 3 rounds, the next round will be system designing. Thereafter, you will be facing the Googliness round. So these are all the rounds of the Google. Now let's go to the next question, and that is the which position I was offered. So at Google, I was also interviewed for the senior software engineer role. I hope that is clear. Now the next question is, why did I choose the Microsoft over Google? So believe me, this was quite an easy answer for me, because at the time Microsoft have already given me the offer letter. Google was still on the interview process, that is the last round, that is the team matching round was still pending. So at that time I only had the offer letter from Microsoft, and obviously I need to join somewhere. So I joined Microsoft, and believe me, it was pretty good decision that I had joined Microsoft right now. Clear? Now let's go to the next question, that is how did I manage time with my office schedule? So I hope you have already got the answer to this question. So let's go to our next question, and that is this one. So the question states that for a 6 to 7 years experienced candidate, how deep does DSA and the LLD preparation needs to go? So honestly telling, for a candidate with 6 to 7 years of experience, DSA is the only thing that matters, not the LLD, because it is expected that 6 to 7 years is quite a junior level for designing any architecture. So you are not expected that you will be knowing each and everything about the HLD as well as the LLD designing. So if you have a basic knowledge of LLD as well as HLD with 6 years of experience, I think that will be clear. But if you are appearing for the Google, Microsoft and Amazon, then the things can become a bit tricky, because in the Microsoft, as you know, on the third level of the interview, means on the third interview round, there you have a dedicated round for an LLD question. So if you are applying for a senior role at Microsoft with 6 to 7 years of experience, so at that time be prepared to face a LLD question. Now let's go to our next question, that is the basic DFS and the BFS pattern knowledge enough for the graph or not? So frankly telling, BFS and the DFS is enough for any type of interview, whether you are applying for a junior level or you are going for a senior level, because I can tell you with my experience that whatever the question you face during the interview, 90% of the question can be solved with the help of the BFS as well as the DFS technique of the graph. But if you have more than 8 to 9 years of experience, means if you are genuinely applying for a senior role, then you need to know about all the traveling problem, means all the optimization that you have to do for the weighted graph and all those things. So those are some advanced topics that you must know if you are over 7 to 8 years of experience. So I hope you have got the answer to both your questions. So let's now go into our third question. So this is our third question. That is, I am in my 6th semester and I haven't started with the DSA yet. So how should I start from the scratch? So this is actually a very important question and a very good question. So let me just give you a basic roadmap that how you should start your interview process from the scratch. So since you do not have any understanding of the DSA till yet, so I would request you start with one topic at a time and then start with solving few of the questions regarding that topic. So for example, on the day 1, you started with the data structure array. So on the first day, just understand that what an array is, how the implementation is, and how you should do all the operations on an array. And now on the day 2, first revise what you have learned on the first day and then start solving one of the problem on the LeetCode, and obviously start with the very basic question and the easy question. And since you are completely new to DSA, so try to solve as much question as possible from the LeetCode. on the easy section, because obviously with zero knowledge you cannot expect to solve any medium or hard question. So for the first 3 to 6 months, just go with the easy topics on the LeetCode and just try to cover all the subjects on the data structure, means the linked list, the hash map, tree and everything. And progressively you keep on practicing and revising everything. And once you reach a point that you have a thorough knowledge of the DSA, means whatever the data structure we commonly use in our daily life, you know end to end of it, then only go to our medium section of solving the LeetCode problem. I hope this is clear that how you should start if you have zero understanding on the DSA. But there is one more important thing that I have to tell you, which most of us actually face. That is, for example, we have a thorough understanding of the DSA in our college life. But right now, when I'm preparing for the next interview, due to some reason, I'm not in touch with DSA anymore. So obviously, I have to do a fresh start, but I have a prior knowledge of the DSA. So that is actually an advantage situation, because you do not have to go to the theoretical aspect of the DSA. Rather, you can simply go with solving the question. Now, how to solve this question? I will just give you a tips. That is what we do in most of the cases, that whenever we start with the DSA for the first time after a long break, we start with the array or something. And what we do, we start with some basic or the easy preparation or the easy question of the array. We keep on solving those, and once we step into the medium or medium or hard interview question, then we see that we are not able to solve any of them. And this process keep on continues for 2 to 3 days, and thereafter a few days you just lose track of everything and you'll just lose all your hope. So just to help on this scenario, if you are also facing this type of problem that I used to face in the past, what you should do, you should start with some complicated subject. That is, start with tree or the graph, because if you understand, tree and graph are actually pretty easy thing if you understand the concept thoroughly, because there are only a few design patterns or few patterns by which the problems can be solved. So if you just understand, for example, for tree, if you know how to do a level order traversing or how you do an in-order traversing or few of the traversing thing, then 30 to 40% of the problem you can solve it very easily. And once you solve those type of problems on the tree, it will basically boost your confidence to solve the DSA problem, and thereafter you can keep on progressing one by one. But it is my request, if you are doing a revision, do not start with the basic array, because the topic of array is huge and it is not possible for anyone to solve all the problem of array on the LeetCode, and you can never tell that I am 100% satisfied with my preparation on array, because the question set that comes on the array is quite huge and it is very difficult to memorize or understand all the way to solve the problem. So I would request you just go on the harder topic first, and once you get the confidence to solve all this question, then thereafter it will be easy for you to do an end-to-end preparation. So just give a try to this strategy, and if it works, that is great. Now let's go to our next question, that is, does being from a tier 3 college affect my chance at Google or Microsoft? So brilliant question. But before answering this, I also want to cover or read out the second question, because I will together answer both of them. And the second question tells that is, currently I am working in a service-based organization like Infosys, Cognizant and TCS with a limited learning scope. And how do I transition to a top product-based company like Google or Microsoft? What should be the roadmap and the realistic time? So, to answer this question, I believe I am the best candidate to tell this thing, because I have faced both the scenario. That is, I myself belong from a tier 3 organization, and I am also being a part of the service-based organization at the very starting phase of my career. So let's start with one by one. So just to give you a heads up, or just to let you know, I have completed my BTech from a tier 3 college. Now, how did I land my job at Google and Microsoft? Obviously, it was not a single day effort. It took me 9 to 10 years to crack this thing. So you have to be patient and you have to prepare yourself quite a huge. But just because it took me 9 years, that doesn't mean you will also face the same thing. It can easily happen that if you do a thorough interview preparation, it will be very easy for you to crack all this type of interview. But as I was telling you, so I was part of a tier 3 college, and not only that, in my college placement, I got an offer letter from Infosys. So whatever you are mentioning, I'm there. I was part of a service-based company at Infosys, and my side of the story was even more pathetic than yours, because when I was part of the Infosys, I was placed as a test engineer over there. So during my career at Infosys, I was a test engineer and I had no exposure on the development side of the product. So you can easily understand that how difficult it was for me to start my career as a test engineer, then moving to development, and thereafter moving to an organization like Oracle, Walmart, and Microsoft. So I hope you understand this fact clearly, that if you want something to happen, it will eventually happen. Maybe it will take some time, but if you work on it consistently without losing hope, one day or the other you will fulfill your dream. Now the next question comes like, how did I move from a test engineer to a development engineer? So the process was not at all simple. I was part of the Infosys as a test engineer for 3 years. But along with that, while I was doing testing at Infosys, I was also preparing myself as a development engineer in my home. So what I used to do, I used to buy courses from the Udemy and I used to prepare from there. So Udemy was the only resource I had at that time to move from the test engineer to a development engineer. And once I have prepared both as a development engineer, and once I had learned the DSA and algo from the YouTube videos and from Google, then only what I did an internal switch within Infosys. So as you know, Infosys have two divisions. One, the Infosys, which is the service-based organization, and they have also a product division called as a HVerb. So what I did an internal transition from Infosys to HVerb as a development engineer. And once I have switched my career from a test engineer to a development engineer from Infosys to HVerb, then only I got my starting point, and that time I considered as a fresh start to my development career, because post 3 years I finally started what I want, that is the career on the development portal. But believe me, I do not have any problem with testing, but personally I had the like for the development profile much more than the testing profile. So that is why I have switched as a test engineer to a development engineer. And once I'm part of the development, thereafter what I did, I keep on learning each and everything daily from different resources across the YouTube as well as Google, and I have progressed in my career. So I hope you got the answer to your question. That is it possible to move to Google and Microsoft from a tier 3 college? Yes, it is possible and I did it. And number two, whether it is possible to move to this type of organization from a service based org? Yes, this is possible, but only thing that is mandatory, that is once you reach home, you have to start your own preparation daily and in a consistent manner. And what is the roadmap or the timeline? That totally depends on what is your learning skill, how quickly you can learn something, and how quickly you can clear the interview. So I hope I have answered all the questions that you have asked over here. Now let's go into our fourth question, and that is, can someone starting DSA from the scratch, for example December, realistically crack Google SDA2 within 9 to 10 months of preparation with 1.5 years of experience? And how much LeetCode is needed in 6 months for a top companies? So just to give you an idea, this timeline or the roadmap is very doable. That is 9 to 10 months of dedicated preparation is enough to crack any interview, whether it is Microsoft, Amazon, Google, whatsoever. And believe me, it will be more easy because you just have 1.5 years of experience, means you are still a fresher, so the interview process will be also quite easy. So cracking the interview on this type of organization at the very starting phase of your career is much more easier than cracking it on the later stage of your life. So try to crack all this interview process as quickly as possible, because the interview process will be easy when you are a fresher. I hope that clears your doubt. Now, the next question is, how much LeetCode preparation is needed? So to answer your question, just to let you know, the number of problems that you are solving is not at all important for cracking any interview. What really matters is, what are the variations of question that you are solving, what are the topics that you are solving, and whether you are solving all the patterns of the question that are mostly comes in the interview or not. So if you keep on solving the similar question and keep on increasing your number of problems of solving on the LeetCode, that doesn't make any sense. So try to broaden your skill and try to cover as much type of questions as possible. Now to give you an example how much questions I have cleared, I will just give you the screenshot of my LeetCode profile. So here if you see, these are the total number of questions that I have solved before I have appeared for the Google or Microsoft interview process. So there were around 655 submissions on which 213 was accepted. And here if you look carefully, I have tried to cover all the difficulty levels. I have solved 39 from the easy, 151 from the medium and 23 from the hard question. So believe me, if you are appearing for any interview, medium to hard is mostly that matters, and mostly during your interview you will face a question along the medium to a bit of the harder one. So I think this is quite a decent number and this much preparation is needed. So it can easily happen that you can crack any of the interview with less number of problems being solved from the LeetCode. So it totally depends on your strategy and how you face the problem. But here one more thing that I want to show you, that is this one. That is, here if you look carefully on what are the topics that I have covered, you will see that I have covered all the topics that are present on the LeetCode and it is valuable for a DSA preparation. So it is not that I have only prepared linked list and I have only prepared dynamic programming. It is not that. I have tried to prepare as much topic as possible and I have tried to solve at least 5 to 10% of each and every topic that was given on the LeetCode. I think this will give you a total understanding that how much you need to prepare to crack all this type of job. So I hope I have given you enough idea that what are the topics that you should cover from the LeetCode, how you should solve the problem from the LeetCode, and what are the topics that you should take into consideration while solving problems on the LeetCode. Now let's go into our next question, which looks something like this. So the next question is like, how do I get shortlisted at Google or Microsoft? And what is the ideal resume format for 6 to 12 years of experience? And how do I get a referral? And what should I do when my resume isn't get shortlisted? So to answer your first question, that how should I get shortlisted at Google or Microsoft, so I would like to tell you that what I did, I have directly applied on the job portal of Google as well as Microsoft. So it was not like that I got the call from Naukri or any other platform, rather I just directly applied on the job portal. And what is the ideal resume format? So actually I cannot tell you that what can be an ideal resume forward, but if you want I can share my resume which you can use as a template and you can write whatever is relevant to you. And I have not changed the structure much over there. The only thing that is getting changed is the content of the resume. Other than that, I am following the same template for the last 10 years. And I'm glad to tell you my resume normally gets shortlisted everywhere, starting from the Meta, Microsoft, Google. So there are multiple organizations that I have applied and more or less everywhere my resume got shortlisted. So maybe the template was good or something. So if you guys want, I can easily share that with you guys. So if you just need the template, just feel free to drop your email ID in the comment section and I will directly mail it to you guys, because I do not want to publish my resume in an open platform. So coming back to the question that what is the ideal resume? So as I told you, there is nothing like ideal resume. There is nothing called as an ideal resume, but just an advice that do not make your resume too big. It should not be more than 2 pages, because obviously right now for a particular job role, thousands and thousands of applications are getting submitted and the HR or the hiring manager doesn't have that much amount of time to read through each and everything that you are writing on the resume. So it is better just keep it as concise as possible. Maybe it is better if you just make it a single page resume and just focus whatever the key or the milestone that you have achieved, what is the achievement, and just highlight those things only. Do not write a description that what are the project works you have done or all those things. Try to keep the resume as precise as possible. I hope that is clear. Now the next question, that how do I get a referral? So obviously you need a connection for the referral. or you can directly reach out to someone via LinkedIn who is actually working on that organization. So that is totally your choice. But believe me, direct referral from a friend or someone doesn't help that much. If you just get a direct connection from a hiring manager or something, that actually boosts your resume for getting selected in the interview. But if you just directly tell someone on the LinkedIn to refer a profile, it might can happen that he will refer you, but that doesn't add too much value on the selection process. So it is ideal that you build your network and get in touch with some hiring manager or someone who is closely related to the manager who can actually give a value and refer your resume to the agent. So that would be my suggestion. And the next question, that is, what should I do when my resume isn't getting shortlisted? So what I would tell you, that maybe it is not getting shortlisted because your resume is too big or you are writing too many things that are quite general for each and everyone. So try to modify your resume based on the job description that you are appearing for. Means, for example, if you are appearing for a profile, a Java developer profile, where the main skills that are needed is on Spring Boot or something, and in your resume you are mentioning something that you did on Python and AI, ML, all these things, so obviously that will not get shortlisted. So in the resume, try to mention all those things that are relevant to the use case or the job profile that you are appearing for. Because right now in these days, there are some AI bots and everything that are there for the resume shortlisting. So what they does, they actually do a keyword matching between your resume and the job description you are applying for. So if there is a high match on the job description and the resume that you have written, so the chances are higher that you will likely get a call for that role. So try to be precise as much as possible. Try to keep all the relevant keywords in your resume and try to eliminate whatever is not necessary for that job description. So that will be my suggestion. So I hope I have given all the answer to your question. Now let's move to our next question. And our next question is our sixth question, which tells that how do one specifically prepare for the SD2 role at Amazon and Microsoft? And the next question is the preparation approach different for Google? So as I have already told you in my last video, that if you are appearing for Amazon and the Microsoft roles, at that time preparing from the LeetCode medium to hard is more than enough. But if you are appearing for Google, the question that you will be facing on the Google interview are completely different from that of the Microsoft and Amazon. Because in most of the cases, I have seen that Amazon and the Microsoft give more or less the same question that is available on the LeetCode. It will be a small variation of that, but more or less the question will remain the same. But in case of the Google, that is a separate question bank that they have in their database and ask question from that database only. So it is a very high chance that whatever questions you are getting on the Google interview, you have not seen it before on any of the platform over the internet. So it will be a completely modification of the LeetCode problem, and maybe they will merge 2 to 3 problems together and they will prepare a single problem out of those. So the preparation strategy for Amazon and the Microsoft is same, that is go through the LeetCode problem medium to hard, but in case of the Google, the question will be altogether different. So be ready that during the interview process at Google, you are likely to get 2 to 3 questions of the LeetCode all clubbed together in a single question. So I hope that clears your doubt. Now let's move to our next question, that is our seventh question. And our seventh question tells that how much important do the theoretical subject like DBMS, OS and the computer networks play in the Google interview? So I do not know for which profile you are asking this question, whether it's for the junior role or the senior role. So as I have seen that for the higher roles, means for the senior profile, they do not give much priority for all this subject. It is only the DSA that matters to them, and after that the system designing that actually matters. But if you are a fresher or you are just a pass out or you just have a 1 to 2 years of experience, I'm not sure that whether they ask question from the DBMS, OS or computer network. But some bit of knowledge of DBMS and the computer network is actually necessary while you are doing the system designing. Because at that time when you are creating a database or schema of a system design, at that time the knowledge of DBMS is quite critical. Similarly, whenever you are talking about the WebSocket connection, TCP connection and all those things, at that time that some fundamental knowledge of the computer network is also necessary. So it is not that you will get a direct question from the computer network or DBMS, but few fundamental knowledge of this concept are actually necessary when you are actually appearing for your system designing round. I hope that clears your question that whether the theoretical knowledge is required or not. Now let's move to our next question, that is our eighth question, and our eighth question states that how can we prepare for interviews in this rapidly evolving AI world? Will software development jobs be replaced by AI? So the second question is obviously a subjective one and it is not that much relevant with the interview preparation. But just to answer your question, that is the first question, that how do you prepare for the interview in this AI world? So actually telling, AI is actually very much important and it helps you during the preparation, because if you follow my strategy, what I used to do whenever I was not able to solve a problem on LeetCode, what I used to do, I used to copy paste the same question on the ChatGPT or Copilot and I would get the direct solution from the ChatGPT. And the best part of this, that whenever you are feeling that one of the two steps that are written on the code you are not comfortable with, what you can do, you can ask question to ChatGPT that whether there is some separate approaches by which we can implement the same, which will make the code much more easier for you to understand, or if there is some better data structure that we can use over there to solve this question. So whatever questions and doubt you have while solving a particular question, you can directly ask ChatGPT and get all the solution, because it is very likely that if you post all these questions in the comment section of the LeetCode or somewhere, then someone will answer after a few days, someone will give you some other answer. So there will be a lot of doubts and scattered answers that will get created over there. And to get rid of all these things, use ChatGPT as your own teacher, where you just ask whatever comes in your mind and clear all the doubts regarding the data structure, the flow and everything. So I believe that AI is actually helping us in solving the problem and understanding the concept clearly. Now coming to a second question, that will software development role will get replaced by AI? So I do not believe that it will get completely erased out of the market, but obviously there will be a huge dependency on the AI that we will see in the near future. So very likely this agent or the AI will become our friend and we have to live and learn from this AI and implement those in our daily life. So I truly believe that AI will increase our productivity, but it will not directly replace the human or engineers. So that is my thought on the AI. Now let's go to our next question, that is the ninth question. And the ninth question is pretty much interesting. That is, what is the compensation structure in hand RSU and the bonus for a 10 years experience candidate at Google and Microsoft? And how do you negotiate salary effectively when you receive such offers? So to answer this question, that is, what is the compensation structure for a 10-year experience candidates for the Google and Microsoft? And to answer your first question, that is the compensation structure. So what I will tell you, that the compensation structure of all the organizations like Google and Microsoft differs from each other. So it is not like they follow the same template, but in more or less what they does, they give something as an enhanced gross salary. After that, there will be some RSU and there will be some joining bonus that we will get only on the first year. But just to get an idea that what can be the probable salary structure or what can be the probable salary that you will be getting, I would recommend you just visit the site, that is level.fyi, which will give you a clear understanding that what type of salary that you can expect on a particular role. So here if you see, this is for the Microsoft for India profile, and if you are appearing for a senior engineer role, means a senior software engineer role, so there are two job profile that is applied for Microsoft. One is 63 and another is 64. Both comes under senior software engineer roles. And here if you see, the total salary that you can expect is somewhere around 78 lakhs to 96 lakhs. So this is more or less the average salary that you can ask to your hiring manager or your hiring agent. So here you can see there will be a clear division of what can be your basic salary, what will be the stock that will get allocated, and what is the bonus amount that you can expect from a particular org. So all these numbers are actually the average numbers that most of the engineers working at Microsoft or Google is actually getting. So here you can get a clear understanding what is the salary range on which you can negotiate. But there is a high chance that this value will differ based on your previous salary, but more or less these are some average numbers on which you can negotiate. So I hope that clears your doubt that what will be the average salary for Microsoft or Google for a senior software role. And the next question, that how do you negotiate the salary? So it totally depends on your skill set, how you start your negotiation. So if you already are holding a prior offer before appearing to Google or Microsoft, the negotiation process will be much more easier because you are already holding an offer. But if you do not have any offer in hand, then you have no option rather than just get satisfied with whatever your HR or whatever your hiring manager is providing to you. But obviously there is a possibility that you negotiate with your hiring manager and just get the right value that you deserve. So that is what I would suggest. Now let's go to our next question, and that is our 10th question. So let's go into our next question, and our next question is that how did you prepare DSA to reach Google's level? And the second question is, what strategy takes you from regular LeetCode to cracking hard problems? So first of all, let's answer both these questions. So how did I prepare DSA for the Google's level? So honestly telling, there is no particular roadmap that will help you to land the Google's job or the job at the Microsoft or any other job. So it is you who have to decide, you have to practice regularly, and you have to crack by yourself that which strategy actually works for you, what type of preparation you need. So it might can happen that the data structure graph actually looks quite simple to you, but on the other hand for some other candidate it might be difficult. So for each and every candidate, obviously the learning curve is different, the way they take up the things is different. So it is totally your strategy and the way you are preparing. But only thing I would like to tell you, just be consistent with whatever you are doing. Try to practice it regularly, because obviously if you do not practice it regularly, you will definitely not able to recollect a particular pattern. So as I was telling you from the last two videos, there are only a few types or patterns of question that will only come during the interview, and you just have to understand that on which pattern your problem statement actually lies. So for example, you are given a problem of linked list, obviously the interviewer will be expecting an optimized answer. So as you know that you have to give an optimized answer, so what you can do, there are only two ways by which you can solve a linked list problem. One is iterate from the first node to the last node, or you can use double pointer to hop one node at a time and another pointer that will double up the speed. So in this way there are only a handful amount of optimization that you can do on a particular data structure. And since on these type of interviews everyone expect you to give an optimized answer, so the multiple approach of solving the problem also decreases, because to crack this type of interview you only have to understand few of the optimized way of solving this problem, and in this way you will speed up your coding skill and every time you will give an optimal solution. I hope you got the idea that how progressively you have to keep on learning different algorithms or different patterns by which you can get the optimal solution. So the next question is, what strategy takes you from regular LeetCode to cracking hard problems? So as I was telling you before also, that whenever you are trying to solve a particular problem, maybe on the problem of medium difficulty, try to explore all the solutions that are already there on the discussion page of the LeetCode, or ask ChatGPT or Gemini to give some optimal solution, and try to understand the solution thoroughly so that you can implement the same solution in some different problem. So try to understand the pattern, and once you understand the pattern, you will see that the solution of the problem will come by default. So that will be my suggestion of how you should start solving the LeetCode problem and how you should improve your progress. Clear? Now let's go to the third question, that is, how do you recognize pattern in unfamiliar question? So if you are going for interview with Google or Microsoft or Amazon, you are more likely to get an unfamiliar question, but you will get a same pattern of question. Maybe the direct question will not come at Google, but for Microsoft or Amazon, you will more likely to get a question that you have already seen on LeetCode. And if in case you are getting a problem that you have not seen before, then what you do, try to break down the problem into steps and try to find out that if it is possible to correlate with one of the problem of the LeetCode or not. So that is why I'm telling you, try to explore as many as pattern as possible, because that will only help you to identify a particular question with a particular pattern. But remember one thing, whenever you are solving a question and if you see that there is a question that have lots of computation and lots of things, means there are formulas and all these things, just keep all those type of question, because at Google, Microsoft or any tech company, they doesn't give a question that is totally dependent on a particular formula. So here they are not testing that how much mathematically you are strong or how you can recollect a particular formula during your interview. Rather, they are testing your problem solving skills. So just remember that if there is a question that have lot of mathematical solution and everything, just simply skip that thing and just proceed to the next question where you have to apply some logical reasoning. I hope this is clear. Now the last question is, what is my LeetCode stats? So I have already shown you that what was my LeetCode stat before appearing for the Google interview or before appearing for the Microsoft interview. I was not that much a LeetCode geek that I was solving thousands and thousands of questions on LeetCode, but I was trying to solve as many patterns as possible. So I hope it clears all the doubts that you have in this question. Now let's go into our next question, and our next question is for our LLD round. So the question is, how did you learn LLD? Number 2, should we focus on the classic LLD problem like parking lot, elevators, snake and ladder, or go deeper? Number 3, how do you know that you are ready, and does the interviewer gives requirement or does the candidate ask? So let's start with the first question, that is, how did I learn LLD? So as I was telling you, this is not the first time I have given the interview with Microsoft, because before clearing this time I had also appeared on the Microsoft interview 2 or 3 times before that also. So I was quite familiar with the patterns of question that are being asked at Microsoft. So what they does, that on the second or the third round of the interview where there is a total dedicated round from the LLD, what they does, they give a classical problem, and what their expectation is, you have to solve that LLD problem with the help of some design pattern. So as you know, we have multiple design pattern, that is like strategy design pattern, observer design pattern, and there are so many design pattern. So in the Microsoft LLD interview, it is very much clear that you have to only solve the LLD question based on those principles only. It is not that LLD means you have to draw all the ER diagram, you have to do all the database modeling and everything. No, you have to just write the code that should run and it should follow a design pattern principle. And I'm telling this with respect to the Microsoft interview. I'm not sure that what other organization does, but I have already have given interview with Microsoft, Amazon and Google, and I have seen that in each and every interview, that is the only expectation they have. Now the question is, should we only focus on the classical problem? I would say yes, just focus on the classical problem, that because there are only a handful amount of problems, maybe 8 to 10, within which the LLD question are only being asked, because there are not a huge amount of question that you can find out on LLD. So stick with some basic question like design load balancer, design elevator, design payment system and all those things. So maybe I will share you all the list of LLD question that you can expect, or I will share a new playlist where I will tell you that what are the questions that you can expect on an LLD round. So if you see my playlist, there is already a playlist that have already a lot of videos on LLD, and if you see on those videos, there also have done a deep dive analysis of how each and every component will break, what are the internal functions that you have to write, what will be the entity class, what are the interface from which the class will get extended. So there also you will get a detailed analysis of each and every LLD question that you mostly get during the interview. But as I was telling you, at Microsoft, I saw that that is not the solution they are actually looking for. They only need a written code where you have to only solve using some design pattern. So just to give you an idea, I will first give the answer to the first question, that is, how did I learn LLD? So what I actually did, before learning the LLD, I have learned all the design patterns that are available for the software designing. For example, as I was telling you, strategy design pattern, observer design pattern, factory design pattern and all those things. So first what you do, first understand the design pattern. You first have to understand that what are the way a particular design pattern is implemented. And once you understand a particular design pattern, then you see on the chat GPT or using some of the tool that how a particular problem can be solved using that design pattern. So for example, I have seen that in most of the interview, two design pattern are most commonly asked. One is the observer design pattern and number two is the strategy design pattern. And what are the questions that can be solved using the strategy design pattern? So for example, you can design a payment system using the strategy design pattern, because when you are solving a problem on payments, the problem statement will be that you have to write a class which should support multiple method of payment. So as you understand, there are multiple methods of payment, like you can do the payment using the credit card, you can do the payment using debit card, you can do by the UPI. So there are multiple ways by which you can do a particular payment. And here if you understand, the payment is a single entity, means the end goal is doing the payment, but what are the strategies or what are the method that the customer is opting for depends on the runtime. And since it is depending on the runtime, means your logic or the strategy of implementation or the strategy of payment will also get changed during the execution time. So obviously with this scenario, strategy design pattern is the best design pattern by which you can solve this type of question. So in this way, if I give one more example, for example, you are getting a question like design a load balancer. There also the problem statement or the pattern is same, that is there are multiple ways a particular load balancer can be implemented. Means there can be a round robin approach, there can be some hashing approach. So there can be multiple way or multiple strategy by which a load balancer can be implemented. And there also you should be implementing that using some strategy design pattern. So in this way, what you do, once you learn a particular design pattern, try to understand the core of it, means what is the actual way and what is the actual problem statement it is trying to solve, and what are the application that can be mapped with that design pattern. And in this way, if you just keep an Excel or if you just understand this way of implementation, it will be very easy to solve any question during your final round of the interview. I hope I'm clear with how you should face a problem of LLD during your interview. And whenever you are going on an LLD interview, just be clear with the interviewer that what is actually the expectation, whether he actually wants you to do the ER diagram and design the database, or he wants you to write the code. So before doing anything, just discuss with your interviewer what his actual expectation is, and thereafter proceed with the implementation. And if you are going with the coding, then first discuss with the interviewer that what strategy or what design pattern you actually want to implement, and if you are on the same page, then only start with the coding. Before that, do not start with implementing anything. Otherwise, if the interviewer at the very end tells you that this is not what I was expecting, all your effort will get wasted. So first of all, whenever you are getting the question, it can be LLD, HLD, DSA, whatever the question you are receiving, first discuss with the interviewer that what is the expectation, what can be the input and output, what are the exact steps that he wants you to define, and then proceed with the solution. Clear? Now coming to the third question, that is how do you understand that you are ready for the interview? So as I was telling you, there are only 5 to 6 design patterns that are mostly asked during the interview. So just prepare those things and just make yourself habituated with writing the code so that it will be easy for you during the interview. Now let me share one of the important resource on the LLD by which you can actually learn the design pattern. So here you can see this is one of the very good site to learn the design pattern, that is Refactoring Guru. So here you can see it have enlisted all the design patterns that are there for our software engineering. So here you can see we have the creational design pattern, we have structural design pattern, and we have behavioral design pattern. And here you can see for each and every category there are some handful amount of design patterns that actually resembles them. So as I was telling you, here we have the strategy design pattern, and here it will give you an enhanced knowledge that what is the problem statement it is actually trying to solve, what is the solution to that problem, how do you define the ER diagram of that, how do you write the code for implementing this application, and everything. So all the detailed knowledge about the design pattern you will get from this site. So you have to invest a lot of time on this design pattern and how a particular application can be implemented using this design pattern. So I would like to tell you, this is a very good resource to learn about the design pattern. I hope this clears all the doubt that how you should learn for the LLD round. Now coming to the last question, that whether the requirement are given by the interviewer or the candidate have to ask. So as I always tell you in all my system designing video, it is completely your responsibility as a candidate to ask your interviewer that what is the steps, what are the functional requirement, what will be the non-functional requirement, and everything. It is not that your interviewer will tell you that implement these and these are the functional requirement you have to solve. Rather, it is your responsibility to ask your interviewer in detail that what are the things he is looking for. I hope this clears all the doubts that you have regarding our LLD round. Now let's go into our next question, that is our 12th question on the high level system design. So the first question on the HLD round is, what is your HLD preparation strategy? Number 2, did you learn most concept at work or through separate study? Number 3, how should one approach infra-based HLD problem as opposed to product-based one? So let's start with our first question, that is, what was your HLD preparation strategy? So just to answer this question, I will let you know that I have started preparing for the HLD for the last 1 year, because earlier I have seen that in many of my past interview, I was able to give answer to all the DSA and algo question, but it was difficult for me to give answer to the HLD round, because the HLD round or the high level designing round, though it looks very simple, that is, you just have to write some of the components, the boxes, some services, and you have to explain all this thing to the interviewer. But believe me, that is actually very difficult when you are actually doing the interview, because there are a lot of questions that will be coming as a follow-up question if you do not know end-to-end flow of a particular designing or the particular application. So what I did around 1 year before, that is, so for example, today I want to know that how to do the design of a ticket booking system. So what I did, I have seen more or less 10 to 12 videos and I have consumed whatever there regarding the system designing of the ticket booking system. And while I was preparing for the interview, I have seen that there is a tremendous amount of gap that is there in the resource of the high level designing. Because if you keep on watching videos after videos on YouTube, you will see that in most of the videos they are doing the same thing, that is, they are doing the design in a very high level and they are stopping over there. And believe me, if you just go with that much amount of preparation, you will never able to clear the interview, because right now in this job market, clearing a HLD round with that much knowledge is not enough if you are appearing for a senior role. If you are appearing for a junior role, then those videos are completely fine. And while I was preparing for the high level designing interview, at that time only, after a lot of failure on the interview, I have found out that what are the levels of follow-up question a particular interviewer can ask. And based on that, what I did, I have learned all the things from the internet and I have clubbed everything together. Along with that, I used to ask ChatGPT to give follow-up question that what can be a further drill down that we can do on a particular designing, and based on that only I have to create my own designing. And obviously all those documentation and everything was very difficult to keep on a single space, and that is why at that time only I have started with my own playlist, my own video, where I have listed down everything that I have did for the interview preparation, what are the deep dive or the follow-up question that a particular interviewer can ask, and I have tried to aggregate everything in a single video so that it become a single resource for the interview preparation. And that is why if you see my first video that I have published, you can see that it is more or less 1 year before from today where I have launched my first video on system designing, because at that time I was going through this process of integrating all the design patterns or integrating all the knowledge together and designing one system at a time. And while I was creating this video during my preparation time, there only at that time of preparation or that time of creating the video, I have learned so much on system designing, and it had really helped me in clearing both the interview with Google as well as Microsoft. I hope this is clear that how I did my entire preparation on the high level designing. Along with that, obviously, since I was also working as a senior software engineer at Walmart at that time, also it was giving me some added advantage to see that whether the things that I'm learning is actually getting implemented in the production or not. So I would say both the things, that is, concept from the work as well as the self-study, both the pattern of learning have given me a significant knowledge on system design. I hope that clears that how I have done my interview preparation for the high-level design. Now coming to the next question, that how do you approach for the infra based HLD with respect to the product based HLD? So in most of the interview I have seen that the organization mostly asks the product based interview question. But in case you get something like infra based HLD, then at that time also the pattern is more or less same. Only the things that changes, that is in the HLD or in the deep dive, instead of introducing some client and the load balancer, you have to keep all the services and the component in a single environment, and you have to logically implement one service at a time. So the design pattern or the way of designing does not change that much. It is only that whenever you are doing a designing for the product, you have to expose some public API and all those things. And whenever you are doing a infra designing, at that time there will be not that much client interaction and you do not have to expose that much API. So that is the only nominal changes that you have to do, and based on the system actually that differs. So I hope I have answered all the questions that you have asked. Now let's go into our next question, and believe me, the next set of questions that you will be seeing are the most asked question in my Google form. So let's see what are the questions that got mostly asked in my Q&A sheet. So as you can see here, I have taken the 3 most commonly asked questions, and all of them are on the same thing, that is the roadmap for the HLD, LLD and the DSA interview. So let's try to answer one question at a time, and let's reveal all the resources that I have used, and let's try to answer all the questions. So the first question is, can you share the detailed roadmap of the DSA, HLD and LLD? So this is actually a very broad question and everything will get answered over here. The next question is, which topics are the most important and in what order should they be studied, and what should I prioritize on each stage of preparation? So very good question. So what are the roadmap for the DSA? I will keep it aside because I will be discussing very soon. But to answer your next question, that which topics are the most important. So as I was telling you few slides before also, that whenever you are preparing for the DSA and algo, do not waste your time too much in learning linked list or array if you are appearing for any FAANG interview, because if you are appearing for a senior role on the FAANG, then the chances that you will be getting this type of question on linked list or something is very nominal. So what are the topics that you should mostly or primarily focus? That is, number 1, the dynamic programming, number 2, the recursion, number 3, the priority queue, number 4, the hash map, number 5, the graph, number 6, the tree. So these are the 6 most commonly asked topics on which the question that are being asked on this type of interview. And based on the priority, they do not have any priority. You can easily face any question at any stage of the interview. But if you are applying for the Google, be prepared to get a question on the dynamic programming and one on the graph. These 2 are the favorite topic for their interview, and you are very likely to get at least one question from these 2 topics. So I hope that clears your doubt that what are the topics that you should study and what should be the priority at each stage of preparation. I hope that answered your question. Now coming to the next question, that could you share your own DSA preparation sheet? Yes, I will be sharing a DSA sheet that will help you in your preparation. And while I was creating this sheet, I have tried to cover all the patterns of questions that are mostly asked in the interview. But believe me, this is not something that is too much exclusive. It is not that just by learning this you will crack any of the interview. Nothing like that. You can go over the internet and there will be thousands and thousands of the sheets that are available. You can just practice whatever resource you have or whatever the sheet that looks good to you. But what I have done, I have tried to accumulate all the questions that are most commonly asked, and I have tried to cover all the different patterns that I was telling you for the last 30 to 40 minutes, that what are the patterns that you have to solve. So all those things I have curated together and I have published into my website. So here you can see I have listed 175 questions on my DSA sheet. So it comprises mostly questions that are on medium to hard level. I have not included most of the questions that are on the easier side. So you can easily prepare all those easier questions from the LeetCode, and these are nothing but only the LeetCode question. but I have tried to cover all the different variations of the problem and most important problem over here. So feel free to go through this entire list, and here if you look carefully at the very beginning, at the very top, I have given a drop down for searching based on the topic. Thereafter you can also filter it based on the difficulty level, and also there is a separate flag called as the must do only, which have 126 most important question that you should at least solve once before going for this type of interview. And whenever you are just solving a particular question, you can simply click on this checkbox and it will get marked as done. And by doing that, you can also track your progress across this entire DSA sheet. I hope this will help you a bit in understanding that what are the different topics that you have to learn and what are the different patterns that you have to learn while solving a particular question. I hope this fulfill your requirement of publishing my own DSA sheet. Now the next question is, how do you improve your communication skills? So very frankly, there is no particular strategy to improve that. Just communicate with your friends, families, or with your manager and try to improve your communication skill as much as possible. So that will be my only suggestion to you, that how to improve your communication skill. Now moving forward to the third question, that is, what overall preparation strategy did I follow? I hope I had already answered your question. Number two, what are the best resources for the DSA and the system design? Now for the DSA, I would say right now presently in 2026, there are a lot of study materials that are available over the internet for learning the DSA, and you can just go through whatever suits best for you, whatever is helpful to you, and feel free to follow any video that actually teaches the best way you can possibly learn. But what I would suggest right now, ChatGPT is the best resource that is available for the DSA interview. Means go through the LeetCode page, grab a question, try to solve it yourself, try to submit the question. If the solution is not on the top of the list, means you have not given the most optimized answer, then go to the ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT to give the most optimal solution to that problem, and try to recursively question ChatGPT that what are the different way it can be solved, and try to learn from the resources that ChatGPT is providing. So right now for learning the DSA, there is no resource that is better than ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. So feel free to go through any of the AI platform and learn from there. You do not have to even practice from my DSA sheet. Whatever feels good for you, just learn from there. Now coming to the next question, and the most important question, maybe most of you are already waiting for that from where or what are the best resources of system designing. So let me share with you few of the YouTube resources from which you can blindly study the system designing, and at the top of the list is obviously God of Sen. So I hope everyone knows about him, that who is God of Sen, the OG of system designing. So blindly go through his playlist. There are a lot of tons of information that you can learn from his channel, and there are a lot of resources that he had already provided for the entire YouTube community. So the first one is the God of Sen, the next one is the Byte Go. So these videos are very much intuitive, because if you see that most of the videos that they provide are mostly explained with the help of the animation, and sometimes it is very easy to understand through animation that how the requests are going, how it is getting to different services and all those things. So the second most useful resource on the internet for learning the system designing is the Byte Go. Number three, the next important resources, if you want to learn something about the infra designing or the backend designing, then the channel by Hussein Nasser is very good, but there you will learn a lot of things about the backend development. And the fourth one is a very old channel, and that is Code Curly. So that YouTube channel is also very much resource heavy, and you will get a lot of knowledge over there regarding different system design. And the last but not the least, the fifth one that I had to mention, and that is the Hello Interview. So I hope you guys are already quite surprised that I'm taking the name of Hello Interview in my channel, because in my initial day when I used to release my videos on system designing, maybe on the first couple of videos, I used to get a lot of comment that whatever the designing I have done is from the Hello Interview. But from the third or the fourth video, when I have started publishing videos after videos, one by one, with that amount of detail. I have not seen those viewers anymore commenting all those things that your video are taken from the Hello interview. Because if you compare the video with Hello interview and mine, you can easily understand the structure of the video are more or less same, because the way the Hello interview started the video series means the strategy of solving the problem means first collect the functional requirement, then thereafter collect the non-functional requirement, then do the API designing, and all those 5 steps are actually I have taken from the Hello interview. And there is no shame in telling that template of how to solve that problem on system designing is actually very good and very much useful. And keeping that template only, I have tried to solve whatever the 20 videos that I have already posted in my channel. So these are all the 5 best resources on the YouTube for learning the system designing. But there is one more channel that is actually better than all of them that I should mention, and that is Interview with Bunny. So jokes apart, feel free to go through any of the channel, any of the resources that is good for you. I am not here to make any competition. This is not only my source of income. So I'm just helping you guys with my resources, my knowledge, and whatever I have learned, that all the videos and the playlist and the YouTube channel that I have mentioned. So what I did, I just tried to learn from all of them, and I have tried to give in a single channel, that is Interview with Bunny. So if you just like my video, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update from my channel and you are always ready for your next interview. But before ending this video, there are few more questions that I also have to answer. So the last question is, please share the material, books or platform that you use. So I think I have disclosed everything that I was using during my preparation time, and I will try to list down everything in the description below. Feel free to go through the description as well as visit my website. I will be listing all the resources that are helpful for your interview preparation. Now let's go into our last question of this Q&A session, that is, I have failed multiple interviews and my confidence is hitting a low. How do you motivate and set back on track after repeated rejection? So this is actually the very basic question and the most important question that you have to digest and you have to get used to it before even appearing for an interview. Because if you are going for an interview in 2026, you will likely to get a lot of rejection, because right now the market is quite tough and the rejection rate of the interview is also quite high. So be prepared that you will be rejected, and this is not something that is only happening with you. We are also facing the same thing each and every day. Just to let you know, before clearing the Google interview this time, I have given the Google interview 2 more times before this, one in 2021, one in 2017. And before clearing the Microsoft interview this time, I had also given the Microsoft interview 2 to 3 times before that also. So it is not that this was my first attempt and I had not faced the rejection. So I have been rejected multiple numbers of times from multiple interview process. Just try to understand that what are the process or at what step you are actually getting disqualified or you are actually getting rejected, because knowing that is very much crucial. Because as I was telling you, as I was doing my preparation at that time, at some point I have seen that I was able to give and clear all the question on DSA, but it was quite difficult for me to solve the high level designing and the low level designing question. So at that time what I did, I have prepared myself very well and I have tried to improve those points that was actually causing my rejection. I hope that clears that how you should handle the rejection, because right now getting rejected from the interview is very normal, but do not lose hope. Keep practicing, keep improving, and I would like to end the video with the same note that I had did in my last video also. That is, whatever happens, keep the hope alive, keep practicing and keep working hard, and always stay positive and stay positive. Because
अब कभी ना बड़ी बात कह देनी चाहिए, ऊपर वाला देख रहा होता है, आप जैसे कहते हो ना वैसे ही होता है, उसी को तथास्तु कहते हैं। बहुत मेहनत करना, क्योंकि बहुत मेहनत करने से हो जाता है, मैंने करके देख लिया है, हो जाएगा। हर बार जिंदगी में आपके पड़ाव आएगा जब आप आपको लगता है कि डेवलप करना पड़ेगा, है ना, और आप अपने वजन से 10 गुना ज्यादा उठा लेते हो और वो आपकी एक एक हड्डी तोड़ देता है और आपके आसपास के लोगों को दिख रहा होता है, जो लोग आपसे मोहब्बत करते हैं कि ज्यादा कर लिया इस बार। कई बार आप उठा पाते हो, कई बार छूट जाता है आपके हाथ से। लेट द रिकॉर्ड शो दैट आई टुक द ब्लो, कि हाँ जब बेइज्जती हुई, अपमान हुआ, तब भी वो भी बिल्कुल हक से चेहरे पे खाया। बट इन द एंड, लेट मी से, नॉट इन अ शाय वे, आई डिड इट माय वे।
वाओ यार,
कि कोई बात नहीं, शर्मा के नहीं कह रहे हैं भाई साहब, जैसे भी किया, जो भी किया, जहां तक भी पहुंचे, जहां भी आए, अपने दिल से किया, मर्जी से किया और हक से किया।